Lonely nights in the winter. Lonely nights in the winter.
Hi, I'm Preye, and catch me on the next album.
Lonely nights in the winter, laying up and taking shots with her swear I was a killer. She wanna chill and get in her, but I ain't doing that with her. Pillow talking is sweet.
I grew up in Kingston. I was a very lucky boy because I went to a private school, which was good. I was the only black person out of 800 people, which was interesting, but obviously very grateful to be there and to learn there. And luckily, yeah, went to Cambridge, and I guess that's where all the music stuff started. First friend I made was a guy called Will, who is my friend today, who I kind of knew from London a little bit. But I remember actually the friend that I actually made on the second day is I went to the university freshers fair. I know everyone has those things, and sign up to different societies. And there was a guy there who was selling an opportunity to be a promoter at a club night. This was like maybe the second or third day I'd been at the uni. And so I signed up. He was like saying that the music he wanted to play was Skepta and Tiny Temper and all that stuff. And that ended up being the club night Cream, and that has now turned into Strawberries. Will had called it Cream because it stood for Cambridge represents everything about music. So it was spelled C-R-E-A-M. But then we managed to get a lawsuit somehow, even though we were tiny, from Creamfield. So we had to change it to Cream with 2 E's. But yeah, man, that's all it was. It was just a little club night, 200 people, nothing more than that, with music that I guess was of black origin. We were doing the club nights, it was all going well. And at the end of the year, we wanted to throw a little party, but obviously us saying we want to bring 600 people to a manor house and just play music and everyone drink, everyone was a bit like, no. So I think we got rejected from quite a lot of those venues. So Will, the genius that he is, managed to team up with one of the Cambridge medics, get them to like loosely approve the fact that we were the Cambridge Medical Society. As soon as the manor heard that it was Cambridge Medics, they were like, come through, do your thing. We came, it was a nightmare, we ruined the place, weren't allowed back. But I think when we did that first event for 600, we suddenly realised we could get bigger quite quickly, and so it all grew from there. Will, who I've spoken about a lot already, was a Cambridge local himself. He'd gone to Manchester Uni like 2 years before. We had a brilliant guy who still works in our team now called Fraser, as part of Anglo Ruskin, and was DJing there. And then myself and Jammer, when he came the next year, were Cambridge Uni. So we were like this little squad of promoters who all had their little networks, and Cream was kind of that centerpiece venue or event that we could throw in. I mean, we were 19 at the time. I don't think anybody thought anything more than like, oh, these guys are throwing a fun party. It was only us who I think were like, let's do it again. Let's make it bigger. And I think that following year we put Skepta, and that was the first time we actually sold a decent number of tickets. I think we sold like 2,000 tickets. And then at that point we were just like, oh, forget uni. Let's just go in with this, and it all grew from there. We were independent. There wasn't much money. All the money that we had in the company was going to pay for these artists, and then when you book those artists, you then got a slog to get the money back in ticket sales. So it wasn't like everybody had great salaries. So it was hard, man. And we were super lucky as a team because so many of the guys had other things going on that meant we could all kind of just carry on. So I was part-time, but I was at Sony. Jammer, was a model and doing TV stuff. Fraser is a DJ, so it was like touring the country. So everyone had these other things, which meant that like we could spend all this time on Strawberries but still get by. At the beginning, I mean, Jammer was just doing everything. And I would do the music stuff because I was obviously at Sony. But it took us like 4 or 5 years to really get into like job descriptions and roles. And I'd only say probably this year or maybe last year, can I be like, oh, I'm Preye, I do the music, and Jammer does brands and partnerships, and do you know what I mean? And Fraser does promotions. Like until then, we were just slogging, man, just trying to sell out. I've always wanted to work at Sony. I always wanted to work at Columbia Records specifically. But obviously at uni, everybody wanted to be a banker and a lawyer and stuff. And I got really lucky. I managed to get a couple of days work experience with Columbia through an amazing lady called Jackie Davison, who's my favourite person on earth. And yeah, I was really lucky. I basically just never left and been dodging getting fired ever since, man. And I guess I used the festival as like my way to pretend like I knew what I was talking about music, even though I had no idea. And said like I had relationships with agents and artists and stuff. And yeah, they gave me a little chance with A&R, and I've been in the same seat ever since. The job role of a scout, I guess, is just find new music before anybody else. So there were no rules, man. It was just go find them. So I would be like on the night buses 4 or 5 times a week, going to gigs in, Nottingham, Dalston, I did anywhere I could find a show, and they would be like, you know, big shows for like 200 people, shows for like 4 people. It didn't matter. If I found them online and thought they were good, I'd go check it out. And I was so hungry to sign somebody. It was great, and I think for those first 18 months, that's all I was doing. It would have been the year of Huss and AJ Tracy. I knew it was because it doesn't matter. I'd started at Sony at that point, but the Sony people weren't even coming. But I remember that first year, not everybody came, and I think it was the year after that like it started spreading a bit more around the industry, and people were coming up from London. So like, it's been crucial, man. I always say like this. I think this stuff's all luck, man, and I think like stars aligning, in my opinion. Awful. It was. For me, it was the worst one. Nothing to do with the artists. The artists were brilliant. The weather killed us, man. And it was also the year where I think we made the decision we couldn't do it independently anymore. I think, at least for us, and I can only talk about my experience, like that size of people in terms of health and safety, and in terms of just doing an event properly and making sure all the attendees have a good time, I felt was bigger than what the 7 of us could achieve. Particularly because I think even at that point, not everyone was full-time. I think 5 out of 7 were full-time, or 4. It was a lot. And then on the week of, it started raining, I think about 7 days before, and it rained every minute for a week up until the day of the festival. And obviously us being like young and naive, we were like, as long as it doesn't rain on the day of the festival, who cares? Like we can set up a site in rain, like, who cares? But what we didn't know is obviously tractors on wet grass just turns it into mud. So like, by Wednesday before the Saturday festival, I mean, like it just looked like a jungle. We got through it, and it was good, and people really enjoyed it. But I think it was such a realization to us that like we needed, if we really wanted to scale up, we needed a bit of help. But the artists were banging, and Steph killed it, and Mahalia was amazing. Young T and Bugsy, I think, played like 4 or 5 times. Kenny brought out Unknown T. It was amazing, and it was actually off the back of that we started, I guess, talking to other companies about a partnership, and that's how the Sony thing came around. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I've been there for a long time, so I've been telling them about Strawberries Creem, and they have been supportive of Strawberries, but I guess they were just, you know, waiting for the right time. And also Sony haven't worked. They only work with one festival in the world, and it's Pharrell's in Virginia. Pharrell Williams is, and so they don't have any festivals they work with in Europe. So I knew it was a big step. We came to them with this idea of why don't we team up and, you know, look at all the ways that we can interact. I guess we can combine what Sony are doing with what we're doing. And they were up for it. They've allowed us to scale up, man. So this year we're going for, I guess, 2 days, 12,000 per day. So that's all them, and we're really grateful for that. Ah, mate, my favorite. So we had Sean Paul and Party Next Door as the headliners with Coffee and Bugsy Malone. And then we've gone really heavy on the house and drum and bass stages, because I think for us, as I said, we've always wanted to be about diversity and inclusion, and I guess the tagline we really want to focus on this year is being the festival epicenter of British youth culture. And I think that goes more than just bashment or hip hop or Afrobeats. I think you've got to really go after all the cultures. So we've got Honey Dijon, Mall Grab, Dennis Salter on the house stages. We had Hybrid Minds and Kings of the Rollers playing drum and bass, but then obviously COVID happened. There was some politics and, you know, travel issues, and so we had to kind of come back with a new lineup, which was pretty stressful. Obviously, as we said, Sean Paul's been our #1 target for years, so like we were gutted, but very grateful and very thankful that Burna Boy, you know, decided to choose Strawberries, man, to play. And obviously, I love Burna as much as I love Sean Paul, man. So and also I think we didn't have much Afrobeats on the stage, so to have Burna, Party Next Door, Coffee, and Bugsy Malone really excites me, man. As well as the house, as well as the drum and bass. We also have done a deal with Clark's and a girl called George's, and we've got like a new all-female bashment stage, which is really exciting too. I want people to walk around the site and get lost on an amapiano stage, or suddenly, you know, realise, oh my God, I didn't know about bashment until I bumped into Taylor Elaine on the Clark stage. You know what I mean? And that excites me. So I'm really, really looking forward to this year, and as long as Corona doesn't kill us, I think it'll be fine. My favourite Strawberries and Cream moment, I won't lie, I know it's fresh, but getting Burna Boy was a big deal for me. I think that, you know, he won a Grammy 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, and I think we've always wanted to become a festival that our headliners were not just internationally renowned, but like were having songs in the charts at that specific minute of time. In terms of like live festival moment at an event, I would say the end of Strawberries and Cream 2018. because that was 10,000 people. It was a new site. It was a really stressful one. I think that was the first year where as a team of 7, I was like, we really are becoming like a bit of we're becoming a name on the festival circuit. It's still a small one, but we were getting there. And it was a tough day. And I remember when it ended, I was so relieved because I felt we'd got through it, and this was like the start of where we could really now kick on. So that was a really nice moment when I saw everyone going home and there were no issues and no one had gone to hospital and everyone was safe, and all the artists were happy. I was like, cool, we're getting there. I didn't go into uni wanting to do a festival and do A&R so we could use, like, they just all again happen really organically. But like, it's been great, man. Obviously my job by definition is to find new music first. So we've always had a really strong brand that Strawberries Creem are putting on artists really early, and that's something we always want to continue to do. And I guess on the flip side, all the artists that I work with, I'll always book them for Strawberries Creem because, you know, I'm invested in them getting bigger and I want people to see them and I'm proud of the music they're making. So like, the two jobs have really, really gone side by side, and like, it's busy and it's stressful, but I love it and I wouldn't change it, man. So I'll be doing both jobs for as long as I physically can. The rest of them can be full-time, not me. I want it to be the epicenter of youth culture, and I really mean that strongly. And I don't want it just to be music. I want there to be gaming in there. I want there to be comedy in there. I want there to be podcasts. I want to have 3 shots of tequila. I want people to come to that festival as a young black person or white person or girl, whatever, and be like, there is stuff for me here that makes this more than just a concert in a field. I want this to be like, you know, the modern day experience for young people, that they can be there for 2 days and 3 days and come back having, you know, learnt about a new podcast that they hadn't heard about, or, you know, having picked up a new genre they hadn't heard about. You know, I want to create a world within a world in Cambridge, man, and you know, fingers crossed we can do that. I'm Preye, and catch me on the next up.
Lonely nights in the wind.